We're busy with a series of 4 presentations. The topic of the series is embracing uncertainty. Uncertainty definitely being something which we are often not comfortable with. This series will try and present another case, call it the case of negative space or possibility, in which we can, rather than be afraid, be averse to uncertainty, embrace uncertainty as the space of possibility. So in this, the first edition, we will be discussing the uncertainty. We will look at a theological perspective as well. A theological perspective based on the Greek word kleros, which we encounter in Colossians 1 verse 12. Then we will offer a few options, a few possibilities of how we can perhaps embrace uncertainty, and we'll be discussing participation, faith, trust as negative space, even heart rate variability, awe and holding on lightly. Awe and holding on lightly will be the next chapters in this series, and we will finish the series by looking at heart rate variability as a means of embracing uncertainty. We will also be discussing some examples from the practice and always look at implications for care or then self-care. Often we hope for a life which embraces a certain linear logic, something like y is equal to a plus bx. In other words, if I input a certain amount in the variable x, there is a predictable outcome in the y. But unfortunately, that's not what life offers us. Instead, we get something which can perhaps in mathematical terms be described as y is equal to alpha plus beta x plus epsilon. That epsilon being an error term. And that error term creates a certain unpredictability in our linear logic. So why this discussion of uncertainty in the first place? Well, uncertainty is a frequent visitor to my practice as a pastoral therapist. So often my clients tell stories of how they become intimidated by uncertainty, how uncertainty creates a life narrative which is not acceptable to them, which runs counter to what they expected of life. We can even talk about ontological uncertainty. Ontological uncertainty, the uncertainty of being, which at its core is the perplexing and often unsettling awareness that fundamental questions about reality, the self, and existence do not possess definitive answers. The relentless quest for meaning and the nature of the world has perplexed philosophers, theologians, and thinkers across generations. This uncertainty can provoke existential dread, leading to feelings of nihilism and detachment from the world. In the face of such daunting uncertainty, participation emerges, participation emerges as a compelling response, offering a path to understanding and agency. Agency here understood to be that experience where you sense that the pen writing my life narrative is also in my hand. I am a co-author to my life story. Author David Rock states in his Your Brain at Work, the brain craves certainty, a sense of uncertainty about the future and feeling out of control both generate strong limbic system responses. So, feeling out of control generates strong limbic system responses. Moreover, there's an inherent appeal to finding certainty in the world because this makes life more predictable, controllable, and perhaps most importantly, safer. Thus, we find ourselves attracted to people, institutions, and systems who or that claim to have the answers. Religions and religious leaders, gurus, philosophies, books like The Secret, politicians, political pundits, and so on, according to Brooks, 2022. The next quote by Tony Farkley says as well, uncertainty for the modern man is contained within intimate relationships, volatile economies, uncertain job security, weather fluctuations, and health concerns. An unexpected theological perspective on uncertainty. Galatians 1 verse 12 states that giving thanks, or runs like this, giving thanks to the Father who did make us meet for the participation of the inheritance of the saints in the light. At face value, this sounds like a very positive text from scriptures which suggests that there's this inheritance in store for us. That is, until we read the Greek original text and realize that inheritance, the word inheritance here is translated from the Greek word kleros, which refers to the lot as in casting the lot. And this introduces a randomness or uncertainty into the understanding of this text from the scriptures. But, there are, however, two other very important words in this text, namely, meet, he makes us meet or qualifies us, and then also participation. That suggests that we have been provided the ability to participate in this inheritance, even though the outcome may be uncertain. Eckhart Tolle says that when you become comfortable with uncertainty, infinite possibilities open up in your life. Jonathan Sachs is quoted as saying, faith is not certainty. Faith is the courage to live with uncertainty. So how might we possibly embrace uncertainty? How can we play the deck of cards that have been dealt to us? Participation is the first potential approach. Participation reminds us of how we understand agency. Agency as being that experience that I'm the co-author of my life story. So participation involves actively engaging with the world and the people in it. It's a rejection of the passive stance of mere observation and contemplation. We can so easily just adopt the victim role and perhaps looking at a metaphor of surfing and allow that wave, that huge wave, to break over us. However, if we once again adopt the metaphor of the surfer, if we ride the pipeline, if we ride that wave, then we're participating in what is dealt to us. So by immersing ourselves in the world, we can connect with others, understand different perspectives, and contribute to the shaping of reality. And this dynamic engagement provides us with this sense of agency and purpose, countering the feeling of helplessness in the face of ontological uncertainty. So by participating in the world, we experience the richness of life. We gain a deeper understanding of human condition, and we find meaning in the relationships we build and the impact we have on our surroundings. This participation ranges from everyday activities such as work and social interactions to broader forms of civic engagement and social activism, all of which provide a sense of connectedness and purpose. Another way of embracing uncertainty might be faith. Here it is said that uncertainty is a crucial part of the journey of faith. It's often in moments of not knowing that we grow the most, learning to trust and surrender to a process larger than ourselves that makes us larger than we have been. Abram went out not knowing by faith, and he became Abraham as a result. Faith, as I understand it, is the courage to enter the cloud of mystery and live with mystery. Faith, hope, and love are three arts of our patience with the silent God. Quote by Thomas Halik. So let us not expect certainties from faith in the sense of simple answers to complex questions, but let's rather have the courage and perseverance to live with mystery amidst the paradoxes of life. At the moment in modern times, starting with Descartes, when reality was separated into subject and object, God was made homeless. It was then logical for atheism to say there is no God. God is truly not to be found in a world viewed that way, because God is neither an object, a thing among things, a being among beings, or even part of the human subject. God is not simply our idea, emotion, concept, or fantasy, but this form of God's absence from the object-subject world need not necessarily be interpreted atheistically, there is another possible interpretation, namely, the encounter with God's hiddenness and intangibility, God's transcendence. Once again, according to Thomas Halleck, in my earlier reflections, I reached the conclusion that faith, in the original biblical sense of the word, is not a matter of adopting specific opinions and certainties, but the courage to enter the domain of history. Abram went out, not knowing where he was going. Furthermore, still on the topic of faith, in postmodernist thought, the Enlightenment produced the modernist world of holding with rigid certainty to a conditional set of beliefs, arrogantly refusing to listen to any other opinion, and using the self-professed truth to wield power in the world. According to the emergence, modern evangelism is largely shaped by Enlightenment thought. The Church arrogantly holds to a rigid standard of truth, using it for power and influence, but not for living lives of faithfulness to its precepts. The Church today is big on certainty, but low on humility and faithfulness. And for the Church to grow in the right direction, she needs to abandon her enlightenment-like certainty. What she needs is not certainty, but faithfulness. Not certainty, but humility. The opposite of faith is not doubt, they say, but certainty. And to lead lives of faith, we need to deconstruct certitude. Certainty puts us in control, but to be a faithful Jesus follower, we must be willing to let go so we can discover a new level of dependence on God. The true Jesus follower will begin to see how deeply immersed he or she has become to a narrow set of rules, firmly entrenched in a limited Enlightenment epistemology, an outdated way of knowing the world, they claim. Dan Millman says, faith means living with uncertainty, feeling your way through life, letting your heart guide you like a lantern in the dark. Furthermore, some other topics for future reference might include trust as negative space. Negative space, think of negative space in the version that's used in art, where negative space is that which has not been completed yet. That requires a certain engagement, participation to complete. Think of the old way of photography where we worked with negatives and developed them. Then there's presence and mindfulness, countering uncertainty, or embracing it, rather. Or which will be the topic for the next presentation, heart rate variability, holding on lightly, and then non-dualism as well. Lawrence Robinson and Melinda Smith say, uncertainty is all around us, never more so than today. Whether it concerns a global pandemic, the economy, or your finances, health and relationships, much of what lies ahead in life remains uncertain. Yet, as human beings, We crave security. We want to feel safe and have a sense of control over our lives and well-being. Fear and uncertainty can leave you feeling stressed, anxious, and powerless over the direction of your life. It can drain you emotionally, trap you in a downward spiral of endless what-ifs and worst-case scenarios about what tomorrow may bring. Narratives from my practice. COVID-19 introduced a whole host of experiences with uncertainty, and so many of the conversations we had involved uncertainty as the specific focal topic. Often, second area where we often find frustrations with uncertainty would be transition tales, moving from one stage of life to the next, from school to university, retiring. These all introduce experiences of uncertainty, challenges of uncertainty. Aging in itself creates certain frustrations, challenges, uncertainties. The Indigo Girls sing a song, Closer to Find, where they say, "There's more than one answer to these questions, pointing me in a crooked line, and the less I seek my source for some definitive, closer I am to find." So what might be the implications for care practice, or even self-care? Discourses of care often try and convince us that we need to be certain about the way forward. If, however, we dare to adopt a certain comfortableness with uncertainty, it will form a counter story to these discourses of certainty in care. Not knowing, if we adopt in the narrative sense an approach of not knowing, then we are embracing uncertainty. And we actually, in our own narratives with being caregivers, we face so many challenges in embracing uncertainty because of this connection, the association of certainty and security. These will remain challenges in our practices as caregivers, but also in self-care. For further reading, books and papers that you might consider reading be Brooks, Embracing Uncertainty, to be closer to find, Deepak Chopra, Embracing the Uncertainty, Farkry Tony, How to Embrace and Get Comfortable with Uncertainty, Hendrik Nathan Pitchford wrote Deconstructing Uncertainty. And so we can carry on with quite a number of texts which have been discussing this topic. To end this presentation, until you embrace reality, you can't really deal with reality. Thank you.